Imagine building one of Formula One's strongest driver lineups and then being offered Max Verstappen. The problem? You already have Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, two drivers capable of winning races, two drivers tied to long-term McLaren deals. So why would McLaren even consider Max? And more importantly, who would have to leave? That is the question sitting at the center of one of the most fascinating hypothetical scenarios in modern Formula One. Because this is not a story about a struggling team desperate for a savior. This is a story about a championship contending team being linked to the greatest driver on the grid. And the complications that come with it. Because McLaren is no longer the team trying to find its way back to the front. It is already there, a team rebuilt around engineering excellence. A team capable of producing championship-winning machinery, and a team that has transformed itself into one of Formula One's most dangerous competitors. That changes the equation entirely. Max does not just need a famous name on his car, he needs a team capable of winning. McLaren officially describes itself as a championship-winning Formula One operation, with 13 drivers' world championships and 10 constructors' titles in its history. Its current lineup remains Norris and Piastri, but the speculation around Verstappen keeps returning. And that alone tells you something important about where McLaren now stands in the sport. McLaren's rise did not happen overnight. The team rebuilt itself from the inside out. It improved its engineering operation. It developed a genuinely competitive car. And it eventually became a championship-winning force capable of challenging at the very front of the grid. For a driver like Max, that matters enormously, because the question is never simply which team has the biggest name or the longest history. The real question is always the same one. Which team can give me the best chance to win? McLaren has answered that question with results, with podiums, with victories, with a level of performance that makes it impossible to ignore when discussing where the best drivers in the world might want to race. Now imagine Max Verstappen inside that system. A four-time world champion, one of the most aggressive racers on the current grid, one of the strongest qualifiers Formula One has seen in a generation, and one of the drivers most capable of extracting extraordinary performance from a difficult car under pressure. McLaren would not simply be adding another fast driver to its roster. They would be adding a proven champion, a driver who has demonstrated repeatedly that he can carry a team on his shoulders when the machinery allows it. And that combination, a proven champion inside an already dangerous engineering operation, could make McLaren even more formidable than it already is. This scenario remains entirely hypothetical, but the logic behind it is undeniable. Except there is one enormous problem: Lando Norris. Norris is not a driver McLaren is waiting to replace. He is already a championship-level competitor. He has been central to McLaren's rise back to the front of the grid. He has a long-term relationship with the team built over years of development, trust, and shared ambition. Formula One's contract overview lists Norris on a multi-year McLaren deal understood to extend well beyond 2026. So what actually happens if Max arrives? Does McLaren choose the four-time world champion with the proven record? Or does it protect the driver who helped build the team back into a winning force? That is not a simple question, and there is no clean answer. And then, Oscar Piastri. Piastri is younger. He has already proven he can win at the highest level of Formula One. And McLaren has invested heavily in his long-term future. His current agreement runs through at least the end of 2027, according to Formula One's contract overview, with potentially longer terms beyond that. And Piastri himself has pushed back firmly against speculation that he is considering leaving McLaren. He has made his intentions clear. He wants to stay. So suddenly, the Max Verstappen scenario looks very different from the outside, because it is not just one contract standing in the way, it is two drivers, two long-term deals, two futures that McLaren has already committed to protecting. Formula One teams only have two race seats. That is the brutal and unchangeable reality of the sport. If Max arrives at McLaren, someone has to move, and that single move creates a chain reaction across the entire driver market. One driver moves to another team. That team suddenly has a vacancy. another driver shifts, and then another. One Verstappen decision could reshape half the Formula One grid in a single transfer window. The domino effect is not an exaggeration. It is exactly how Formula One's driver market operates. Every elite seat is connected to every other elite seat, and when a driver of Verstappen's caliber moves, the consequences ripple outward in every direction, touching Red Bull, Mercedes, and teams further down the grid. But here is the twist that changes everything. McLaren may not need Max at all. They already have two elite drivers who understand the team, know the car, and have demonstrated they can compete at the very front of the grid. Neither Norris nor Piastri comes with the disruption that a Verstappen signing would inevitably create. Bringing Max in could mean contract renegotiations, internal politics, a shift in team balance, and potentially losing a driver who is entirely capable of becoming a world champion himself. The risk is real, and sometimes the smartest move available to a championship contending team is not the most dramatic one. Sometimes the smartest move is doing nothing, protecting what you have already built, and trusting the drivers already wearing your colors. But Max does not need to wait forever either. If Red Bull cannot convince him that its future is genuinely competitive in the new era of Formula One regulations, other teams become more interesting by default. Mercedes carries the advantage of a fresh start under new technical regulations. McLaren carries the engineering strength of a team already proven at the front, and Red Bull carries the weight of history and the relationship built across 4 championship seasons together. So the decision Max faces is not simply about choosing a team. It is about choosing a future, about identifying which environment gives him the best possible chance of continuing to win at the highest level. And that calculation changes depending on how the next generation of cars performs. So could Max Verstappen really join McLaren? Right now, there is no confirmed deal, no announcement, no official indication from either side that a move is being seriously pursued. McLaren already has 2 drivers it wants, 2 drivers it has committed to, and a team culture built around continuity and long-term planning. But if the opportunity ever becomes real, McLaren would face one of the most significant decisions in its modern history. Because sometimes the hardest decision is not finding a champion. It is deciding who you are willing to lose in order to get one. And that question has no easy answer when both drivers you already have are capable of winning a world championship themselves. And if Max does not go to McLaren, where does he go? Because the options do not end with Mercedes and McLaren. There is one more team entering this conversation. A team with serious financial backing, serious ambition, and a serious desire to change its position in Formula One permanently. A team that could make an offer compelling enough to change everything. Green neon begins to cut through the darkness. Episode 4, can Aston Martin steal Max?